Hey gang, so somebody commented on one of my videos that they had a really hard time taking apart and reassembling the Magic Track slider. So I thought I'd put together a quick video with a very simple but kind of crucial tip on how to properly disassemble this and how to set yourself up for success when taking it apart so that you can easily swap out magnets, change the balls if you want, and then put it back together without everything going flying or without figuring out where things go, because this has a kind of a pesky little internal structure to it that makes it really easy for things to get messed up. So let's watch me pull this apart. Okay, gang, so as I said in the intro, this was a question that came up on my channel regarding one of the other videos, the disassembly video for the mechanical milk cap. So this, the Magic Track slider is a weird one because the balls are on the inside. So that in itself is already unique. It's got to have a sort of a different assembly on the inside. And we're all used to, I shouldn't say we're all used to, but if you have like a wrapped or any Magnus slider, you know that when you sort of flip this over, take the top off, the magnets are sort of sitting recessed into something. In this case, it's sort of the same thing, but what happens is a lot of people, and I even noticed, we watched the original Big White EDC video when he was disassembling this. The problem with this slider is that when you unscrew these two plates and you take this plate off, there is nothing holding the magnets in place from this end. So they're literally just floating there free, which means they can move all over the place. It becomes a mess. It gets really complicated to try to put them back together. So that's one issue. Now add on to that these balls, which means that this plate doesn't sit flat on anything either. So we're going to deal with that in a second because that's kind of a weird one. So first of all, going from here, basically deal with this the way you would deal with any Magnus or wrapped slider, which is, first thing to do is find a tin or piece of metal, a metal plate or something. So here, I'm just going to take, this is just a T6, and I'm going to pop these screws out. Now I'm pinching this together still though. So I'm making sure that it's not opening up. Okay, now the trick is, take it and put it right down onto that metal plate. Okay, so once it's on the metal plate, as you can see, you can just take the top off and the magnets will stay in place. Now this top, you can see, has like no grooves or anything. It's completely smooth surface. So it's easy to, if you take the screw out, these things can kind of slide around and the plates can separate, magnets can come popping out if you're not careful. So you have to know that when you take this out, you need to pinch it hard until it comes in contact with something that's metal so that the magnets can sit there. Now at this point, if you wanted, you could go through, you could swap magnets out if you wanted to swap for harder magnets, or stronger, I should say, that kind of thing, because at least the frame is sitting on something and the magnets themselves are stuck to this metal plate. So they're not going to just kind of get all loose. If I did it the other way and unscrewed it with this, you know, like if I was taking this, unscrewing it and just pulling this top off, well, then you can imagine it would be these magnets sitting here and they're just like floating free. Like there would be nothing holding them into that position. So even putting the plate back on would be kind of a pain to try to realign the magnets. So this is the way to do it. So then you've done your work, you've replaced the magnets, whatever. You just slide that back on. Now again, remember, when you take it off your metal plate, you need to pinch it so that the magnets don't go anywhere. Now, be careful, because if you pinch too hard, sometimes you can cause like weird friction and actually like scooch it right out of your hand. So we'll just put this one back together. Okay, so that one works easy enough because it sits right on the metal plate and it's flat. The tricky one is the side with the balls, because as you can see, the balls actually sit outside of the edge. So they're not going to let you sit flat on a metal piece. It's going to kind of stick, like the magnets will work, but you can see here, like it's sort of on, it's sort of off, it moves around, it doesn't really work well. So the trick for this one is you need something metallic that is only the width of the inner track of the magnets. And for that, I'm just using a really cheap kitchen knife. Got it? I probably don't even have to open it up at this point for you to know where this is going to go, but let's do it anyways and hope that I don't mess this up. Okay, so I'm pinching. Going to take the screw out. Now this gets tricky while getting the knife ready because you don't want to stab yourself. And just carefully slide it up in place. Now the reason I'm doing it like this is because that way the balls can still hang freely in their track. And then once you get it down, everything stays in place. So now I can switch out the balls if I want. These are great. These are ceramic balls. I could lift the balls out, you know, like I could change them if I want. They're just sitting right in this track. So you can see, let's see, focus. So I could literally just pop them out if I want. So that's it. That's the way to keep all of this stuff together. Nothing is floating around. Again, if I wanted to work on the magnets now, I could. But it's so important to have this little narrow piece of metal in there for the magnets to stick to. So then when you're done your work, we just place it on, flip it back over, take the knife off. Now the nice thing is the balls do act as a kind of a wedge, so that the top plate doesn't kind of slide around the way this one does, because the balls actually give it a bit of kind of a connection point, I guess. But that's it. So we've just taken it apart. We put it back together. No problem. So if you have that piece of metal, you're fine. And again, remembering this side can stick completely flat to something because there's nothing sticking out. Whereas this side, the balls are sticking out. So it will not allow you, like it'll stay there, but not great. It's not a really hard connection. So you want something. Now, if you have something other than a knife, that's even better. Because then there's no risk of cutting yourself, obviously. But this is all I had, and this just sort of shows you that as long as you have something thin enough to stick in there and that the balls can still kind of hang free, then you'll have no problem opening it up, keeping all the magnets in place. Okay, hope this was helpful, guys.